First of all, I really agree and appreciate all of my other panelists and a lot of lawyers that are out there that are scared. We're all scared. And Bill, what you asked me is how do you maintain, you know, the movement in your firm? And I think it comes down to leadership. The advice that I'm giving my clients, more than advice, I'm insisting that they take that leadership role in maintaining a relationship of communication with their staff. They've got to communicate with their staff more than they ever have. Their staff is what's going to keep them going and define their, you know, their brand. The staff right now and most of my clients and most of my friends' offices are responding in a great way because they are thankful that they're getting paid. You know, with that being said, you've got to keep yourself and your firm in the front of people. I mean, you know, I believe one of the smartest people that I know on social media is Jay. You know, Jay has taught me, and Jay has taught a lot of us, honest to God, how to keep ourselves in front of people. And we've got to really think about how we're going to do that. You know, social media is absolutely here to stay. Database marketing. You've got to sit back and you got to say, how can I keep myself relative with honest content, with an honest message, a sincere message that resonates? And you've got to sit back and you got to figure out how to do that. You know, work your clients. You've got to get on the telephone and talk to your clients. Tell them that you are here. This is the time. This is your defining moment. It's more than just a text, and it's more than another email. It's a personal contact because you have a relationship with those people. Work that relationship and do it in a sincere way. You know, calling the client up and saying how you're feeling, you're opening up yourself to a lot of, well, I'm not doing well, I'm not doing this. You know, perhaps you can say, you know, can I help you, you know, file your unemployment insurance? There's something that you can say. Put yourself in the client's shoes, which you should always do. Put yourself in the client's shoes and figure out what kind of phone call would you want from your lawyer. It's imperative that you do that. You got to work your files. You have to work your files. I have a client that traditionally takes in, settles about 44 cases a week. Excuse me. Last week he settled 58 cases, and I said, "Well, what was the difference?" And he says, "My employees are working harder. My employees are focused." And so, you know, as we roll out, you know, I'm hearing things in a very specific conversation from a firm that settled some insurance with the insurance companies, and they're looking. This is according to one client. They're looking to settle cases because they want to get the write-off, and they're settling them for good money. They haven't taken advantage of us yet that I'm aware of. They're in the same boat we are. But now is your time to settle those cases, and don't settle them cheap. Settle them for top dollars. They'll settle. That's your cash flow. You've got to keep your cash flow moving. You got to get your house in order. This is your time. I think everybody, you know, Michael, you know, Morris said it, Jay, Seth, look at everything that you're doing. This is the time to really go through the process. I want to add something, you know, and Seth, on the heels of what Seth said, take a good look at what your chat company is doing, you know, whether it's Engage or whether it's Site Staff. I happen to work a lot with both of those firms. I think they're excellent. But take a look at the scripting that they're saying, making sure that the scripting is absolutely sensitive. It is on target. Get a hold of your answering service. You've got to look at the scripts that people are saying. How are they answering the phone? You've got to look at all these little details. I know I'm moving very quickly because there's so much information that's going to be said throughout this meeting, but you really have to take a look at how you're talking to the public, and that means look at all the chat, look at all the messaging, look at everything. You may want to take a look at your chat box and say, we are here 24 hours. You have to reassure the public. The first thing is you have to reassure your clients that their cases are safe. And you have to take a proactive approach. That's really what I'm saying. I think Jay said it. Seth certainly implied it or may have said it. But that's really the most important thing. The other thing is, I believe that this is a great opportunity to do PSAs. And a PSA is, public service announcement. I know we're desperately wanting cases and such, but what your brand stands for is going to define you. And I just love what Michael said about he's going to be here afterwards, so he's thinking long term. Michael is a thinker that thinks of the whole pie, not just a piece of pie. And keep in mind, your competitors, many of your competitors, lots of people that I've spoken to, they're panicking. They're looking at everything right now. Let's save every nickel. Let's cut our staff. I was on a large call the other day, and a major player in Kentucky cut 90% of his staff. Now, I'm not sure how he's going to settle cases with no staff. That's panic thinking. All of your thinking is going to be based on cash flow. So you've got to keep that cash flow, but do your PSAs. Support the Red Cross. Support what you believe. Wash your hands as a PSA with compassion, and also PSAs on first responders.
So what I wanted to ask, you brought up a really good point. I want to kind of hear from everyone else so we can dive into this exact point that you made, which is, doubling down on communicating with your clients in a way where, you're being compassionate and, adaptable to what's currently going on. So how has everyone on here done that? Because I know all of you have done it in some way in your marketing or answering service or your live chat.
We've done everything from letter to each client to newsletter to personal phone call to each person, to each client out there. Basically as many touches as possible internally. Again, two different sides of the house. The contingency side, on the fee for service side, you want to make sure that people are still, not looking for escrowed monies back. So you really want to make sure that people realize that you're open for business and still working. Those have been our main focuses.
So what we've done is really taking inventory of the fact that most clients think that if they're coming to us for the family law firm, they're coming for a divorce. If they're coming to us for the Social Security firm, they're limited in what they can ask us about as to Social Security. So what we've really done is this past weekend, because it was just not happening over the week, there's just too much to do for this team and I got one of our newer associates on the phone. I was like, this is a great coaching opportunity to teach a young attorney how to talk to clients from a perspective that's beyond, here's your divorce decree, here's your Social Security check. And it was a great coaching opportunity for her to see that. And we spent 3 hours Sunday afternoon going through a list of who do we think has gotten hit hardest with this. And it was also coaching the client that we are here for you beyond the conversation about the legal parts. We are here for you for something going on with your real estate, is something going on with your childcare, is something going on with getting groceries to you. And not only does that create more goodwill for the client, but also coaches the client to use us as a trusted advisor for anything that comes their way, and they'll remember that. But it also allows us to feed our referral source and help their businesses and keep our referral sources alive during a time that is critical for all of us to support each other's businesses.
Boy, that's so well said, Sarah. That's so well said. Brand is what people think of you when you're out of the room. And how you define yourself now will be how you defined in the future. We're all contributing to this. We're all saying, calling our clients, but it's really, let's be sensitive as to what we're saying. I personally believe, and this is a fact in my life, that the best cases that come to you are from referral. There's very few people on earth that has booked more airtime than I have, over the last 40 years in legal advertising. And I can honestly tell you, even in the best of times, the best cases come through referral. And this is what you're going to fall back on is your referral business. Jay made it very clear, that his business is active with referral business.
So I can chime in and just to answer your specific question, Bill. So there's a couple of components that I think are helpful. We have 40 some odd lawyers, and 20 of our lawyers, all they do is go to court and take depositions and try cases. Well, those are pretty much gone for the time being. We're working on getting our deposition practice back up, but defense attorneys are a little bit slow. So those lawyers have bandwidth to call clients every single week. So that's not something we typically do. I mean, we're busy, we're working on the files. Our clients don't necessarily in normal times need to hear from us once a week. Now they are hearing from us once a week. And I'm imploring my lawyers to call over our Ring Central by using Zoom. So Zoom is built into Ring Central. So, where the clients can go video, it's so much more personal to do a video call. And so we're making it mandatory. We're having them ask the questions. Is everything okay? Is there anything they need? They're putting notes into our case management.
Sounds like we lost. Mike, we got you back.
What's that?
I was going to agree with the Mike point about using video whenever possible. And just as an add-on back to Mike, if you can hear me, was that we have found that the outside counsel, not the in-house counsel for the insurance companies, but the outside counsel are desperate for hours, and that has been an opportunity to get some work done and even get some cases closed in the near term.
I have to say, just from our Sunday calls in the family law case, we found so much more billable work that we had not have thought about. Billable work that the client didn't even think would have been something that we could have helped with. But something as simple, and I'll say this to all the family law attorneys out there, a lot of us had not taken a minute to think about when the stimulus check hits each household and families that are now dividing up their assets. Now there's one more thing to add to that division of asset list that we should be reaching out to all of our clients and say, hey, did that tax refund check last year come to the joint account? Well, if it is, now we have a problem because now we have another thing we have to, clear out for you. And if you have 200, 300 plus divorce clients, that might be minor billable work, but it adds up quite a bit.
So you're really falling back, Sarah, to working on those files. I mean, work those files and take a good look at it. And keep in mind, what I also urge everybody out there to do is to take a good look at the contract that you signed with your state when you became a lawyer. It was the very, very first contract you've ever had implemented. It's the backbone of what you should be. You agreed to do that. Go to the paragraph, the oath that you signed, read it. Simply do it.
Awesome point, Harlan. So, with the remaining 4 minutes here, why don't you kind of, we did have one quick question I wanted to address, and then I want to ask you a final question. The question was how to market without a budget in this time, because we do have some smaller lawyers on here. And then after we answer that real quick, my big question to you is what is the smart money doing versus the scared money? I just want you to reiterate that point after we answer the question, how to take advantage. So if anyone has an answer on how to take advantage, maybe Jay could talk on that, regarding social, really quick, and then we'll go into the smart money versus the scared money.
Sure. I mean, I certainly believe that social is a great opportunity now, just because the extraordinary amount of people that are using it as an escape tool to get away from the news of the day. And so if you can be the voice of, humor, the voice of calm in this time, you're going to be building your brand message like Harlan just talked about. That is something that people can feel comfort in for years and decades to come. And really, what I think you need to do is go back to your core. You could identify in your list the top 50 lawyers who've referred you business, or maybe if you're just starting out, the top 5 lawyers that have referred your business, and reach out to them. They're probably home looking for someone to talk to. And so if you can call them up and say, hey man, my day's going kind of crappy. How's your day going? And you know, because the wonderful thing about it is we all have this in common right now. And so if nothing else, you have something you can talk to people about. What's it like homeschooling 4 kids under 10? Well, I know Seth and I can talk about having to be homeschoolers right now, and it's driving me freaking crazy. So I can talk to my friends about that, and we can, you know, and that just, it creates a personal connection, and that's what social's all about. That's why I'm so big on social. I'll put up in the chat our free trial for people, just so that they can have ideas that are not coronavirus related. Because I have some friends on social who I am snoozing for 30 days because all they post about is, you know, death statistics. And I need to escape that, please.
So I'll follow on what Jay said, because that's exactly right. I find that, you know, we all know that if you're into networking, you want to make connections, there are people that are really hard to get a hold of. And some of those are the people at the top of that list of people that could do you the most good from a referral base. And there are times you set up lunches and they get postponed and they get canceled. This is like the one time in history where people are sitting at home happy to hear from you and willing to sort of people that are upstream from yourself. I would say, to answer the original question, not only networking, but, you know, those that know me, you know, focus on SEO and growth, wanted to come out of this so that, like Mike says, we have a firm for the future. Looking at your website, going through it, making the edits you never have time to find, finding the stuff that's wrong on it, finding the stuff that needs to be updated, and writing long-form content on the areas that will make you money coming out of it. To me, this is an invaluable time. There is never time to do that. You finally, almost like that old Twilight Zone, all the time in the world, you know, with the guy with the stack of books. This is your opportunity. If you blow it, you're going to regret the fact that you didn't use this to bolster your digital.
I'd also like to add that probably when we were solos, or to mention the smaller guys that Bill wanted us to speak to, when all of us were smaller, it was just everything hang on our shoulders. Our cost of acquisition is probably the lowest it had ever been. So when you really, at this time, if you don't have enough work or enough files to work on and you don't have a team to pour yourself into, you probably have the lowest cost of acquisition against any of us on this panel who, as we leveraged ourselves out more and more and built bigger marketing systems and invested in marketing that didn't rely just on us, we just agreed to increase our marketing spend and our cost of acquisition spend. So this is a huge opportunity to, really go after that referral base and create networking systems into your marketing machine so that when business picks back up, these things are running like a system for you, which I know, Jay, from social media, you probably have so many tips on how to create social media marketing systems. Newsletters, these are social media marketing systems. And the content right now, because you can be the one to write it, it will start off with your voice, and nobody can replace that. No copywriter can replace talking to your clients from your voice, your unique perspective, which is what really branding at its core is about, is just a unique point of view. And then when you grow bigger, now you have already this content that your marketing team can look at, like Blue Shark Digital does for us, and said, this is the voice of the khaki law firm. This is the voice of Atlanta Divorce Law Group. And that becomes the system of its own. But, you know, there is an idealistic way to actually look at how a solo person has it right now, because you probably only need a couple of cases to feed yourself. And that will come. That is out there. People are calling law firms. They are. You just need to let them know that your phone is still ringing and you haven't forfeited. And outside of that, you probably have a lower cost of acquisition than all of us on this panel.
My answer is based on exactly what I see people are communicating with me that they're doing. Smart money is doubling down on their business and doubling down on communication. It's doubling down and tripling down on settlements and working through the cases. That's where smart money is going. Scared money laying people off left and right, is cutting all your budgets. It's, not renegotiating, cutting, and running scared and saying, but those are the same people that every day they walk into their office and they say, how many cases did I sign? They don't ask, how many calls did we get and where they came from? They're very myopic. Scared money is myopic. It's, you're living, day to day on how the phone rings and not really planning on the future. You'd be surprised at how many law firms walk in every single day. They don't look at any other metric, but how many cases did I get today? And I also just did that without saying lead docket. But the truth of it is that's where smart money is, and that's where I believe scared money is, and that's the fact based on the last, I would say, 30 to 40 conversations I've had in the last 10 days.